Hello and welcome to Chaotic Riff Magazine. My name is Jason J. Rock Houston. I'm really honored and privileged to be talking once again to drummer Brian Tichy. Now, some of you know Brian from playing with bands such as Billy Idol, Whitesnake, Foreigner, the Dead Daisies, and today we're going to be talking to Brian about his Merry Tichmas Christmas album. So let's get right into this, Brian. Talk about how you came up with the idea for this Christmas album. I think it's a great little project you have.
Oh, thanks. It was, when was it? I think it was,
it 2017?
I what year I did it.
I think 2017 I was reading.
17?
Yeah.
Is that it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So I think I was on the road, with the Dead Daisies in 16, and somewhere at the end of the year we were in Europe on tour, and it was, everywhere you go, it's Christmas, it's December, and I don't know why, I just thought, it would be cool to put an instrumental record together of my favorite Christmas songs, and I got a home studio. I'll just do it there, and somehow in my head I was just like, I want it to be dominated by guitar, and try to do my best like little Jeff Beck meets like John Bonham on Christmas songs. That was just a little thought, but I got home and I was like, maybe I'll do a pledge music thing for it, and go down that road. And I just started doing it sometime at the beginning of the year of 17. I don't know, maybe did half of it. The Daisies went back out on the road throughout the year, and then in between breaks, and when I was home, I finished it up with, I think 10 or 11 of my favorite songs. It was just a labor of love, really. It was just something fun to do. And I think it was also, as soon as I thought of that, I was like, what would I call it? Hey, Kiss does Merry Tichmas.
Yeah.
Why not Merry Tichmas? And it was just kind of fun to think about, and just know that I could do it in my free time at my pace, and it's definitely not like a hard rock or metal. I know there's a lot of heavier bands or that out there that have covered Christmas songs, and they do it more of a heavier style. But I tried to make it where you could put it on with like kind of Christmas, classic, more or less classic Christmas CDs that we've all heard, and hopefully one of these songs would pop in between, and it wouldn't sound out of place. I wanted to make it more festive than heavy or rockin', you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, it's definitely got drums on it. It's definitely predominantly a rock CD, but guitar-wise, it's not like, heavy guitars all over the place. There's a couple jazzy things, a couple, whatever, rockabilly-ish or whatever, and just trying to play different styles and have fun, and not even try to show off a shred side of guitar playing. It was more just try to play tasty, and like some of my favorite players, and what would Brian May do? What would Blackmore do? What would Slash do? What would Jeff Beck do, or whatever? Brian Setzer. It was just kind of thinking like just to play tasty, on top of these amazing songs.
Yeah, I got to tell people, I ordered my own self a copy, and what I really dig about it is it's more than just like, you get a lot more than just like a 4-song EP. We get 11 tracks here, and so I really think, people really get their money's worth here. It's a whole album, and the first song I heard off of this was Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and an interesting thing about that is it's instrumental is everything on the album, but what's interesting is it sounds like you kind of do a vocal, even though you really don't. It's just kind of hard to explain, but the track, it's really kind of, that's one of the tracks I really love on here.
Well, thanks. That I think the reason you're explaining it like that, and it sounds like that, is because that was one of it might have been like the second song I recorded for the CD, and I grabbed my talk box, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, yeah.
Mimic, and that's kind of what I did. I just tried to follow the melody, play the melody on guitar with the talk box, so it gives you that, definitely gives you more of a vocal sense, because that's what the talk box does. And I was so psyched on it when I finished it. I was like, I should just do the whole damn record with the talk box. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But which I didn't. But then when I got to the song, it's not in front of me. Which one was it? Wait. It was the Christmas song, which was in Nat King Cole's version. Probably like the most popular version of that. And so I tried to make that more jazzy and more mellow. And when I went to actually do the vocal part on guitar, I literally mimicked his version. I just exactly, or as close to it as I could, like his phrasing of the melodies.
Yeah.
And just because it's such an amazing song, his vocal is so insane on it. I was like, okay, if I can just keep in the ballpark of what Matt did and just, mimic that, his phrasing and his, rhythm and melody. So that was, and then there's another song on there. Actually, well, it's Christmas time. I threw in a couple extra CDs in my car, so if I see somebody, I'm like, hey, have a Christmas CD.
Oh,
I think it was Rocking Around the Christmas Tree. I think that's the other one I did Talk Box on, and then something like, I don't know, it's all basically, the guitar really just mimics the vocals, It's like, well, how else do you want to do it? I didn't want to veer off of the path of the vocals the melodies and those lines that we know so well,
Yeah, I mean, when I'm listening to it, I just love it because I'm like, I know it's an instrumental track, but it's like, man, something about it, even though he's not really singing it, it sounds like he is, and it's just kind of a unique sound, and I was really getting off on it. Now, of course, this is a solo album, as we said, and a lot of people may not know, Brian, that you're a multi-instrumental. You can play guitar, you're a singer, you write songs, you play the drums and other stuff. So, are you playing everything on the album? You have other people play with you on the album?
Yeah, I did everything on the record except my buddy Derek Sherinian, who's virtuoso keyboardist. Derek's what's he in now? He's in Black Country Communion, and he had Sons of Apollo with Bumblefoot and Portnoy and Billy Sheehan and Jessica Soto. What did I say? We were in Billy Idol for like many years together.
Yeah.
He was in there. So Derek's one of my best friends, and he just kept bugging me to play on a song, and because I really didn't want him to show off and start. I'm totally kidding. He just said, "Hey man, if you want me to do something, I'll do it." So he came up and one day he just he played on what was it, Little Drummer Boy, and he actually made it way better. Like it was a little boring. I had finished it, and I was like, "Oh cool, I'm gonna try to do some harmony wah-wah guitars like Brian May or whatever." And I was listening to it like I thought it's okay, but it wasn't exciting me like some of the other ones. And then when he put his piano stuff on it, he really made it a more festive version, so I got to give it up for him. And man, he only charged me, double what he charges most everybody else. So I got to deal with it.
Wow. And now I got to ask you too. You did a version of "Come All Ye Faithful," which is the final track on the album, and a couple years back, Twisted Sister actually put out a Christmas album, and I heard Dee Snider talking about that they accidentally came across the fact that the guitar riff in that song is the same as I think it's "We're Not Gonna Take It." Did you kind of discover that as well, or?
No, I remember reading about that.
Yeah.
I think I did read something where somebody had brought that up, and Dee had to reply to it. And as soon as I read that, I was like, oh yeah, they're pretty close. And sometimes you hear things like that in songs that maybe a lot of people haven't noticed or whatever, and sometimes it slips by. But this is one of those things where I don't know. Maybe it was because when it came out, it was the Twisted song came out. It was so heavily tied to the video.
Yeah.
And it's so rocking. There's a hard rock version. It's easy to have something like that slip by. Whereas I just remember thinking when I was a kid here and We're Not Gonna Take It, I was like, oh, I was already familiar with Tommy, from the Who, and that has a, We're Not Gonna Take It song on there. But then when it was brought to my attention, I was like, oh yeah, that's interesting, and I think he claimed he wasn't even thinking of that, and that happens, man. You hum a melody, it's like it might end up being a little bit something like something else. For example, recently it reoccurred to me that the song. Wait, let me think about it. It's the Doors version, the Doors song "Hello, I Love You." Hello, I love you.
Yeah.
Tell me your name.
Yeah.
That is the same riff as the Kinks "All Day and All Night."
Oh wow. Yeah, it is.
You could be playing the Kinks version.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Girl, I want to be with you all of the time." And then you can sing Morrison going, "Hello, I love you. Won't you tell me your name?"
I never realized that. You're so right.
That's really close, man. That's super close. I've had many conversations with Zep Freak friends of mine where we're like, okay, Barracuda from, and it's not super close, it's more the drums, but it's like, Barracuda came out like 6 months after Achilles' Last Stand on Presents, like, and they were both like 76. So you want to dig into the history, like, did Heart hear Achilles? They were just digging that groove, so they just made up a, Barracuda, kind of based off of the influence of hearing Achilles, which I do not know, but they were, cause they were released in the same year. And the other one that nobody's ever brought up, but I thought this was interesting, was one of the most famous riffs of all time, Smoke on the Water. If you look at it without knowing an instrument, if you just listen to the sound of the riff, it's like, dun, 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 dun. So it's like the first note, then up, then up again, then up, and then down to finish. And if you listen to Cat Scratch Fever,
oh, wow.
Down. It's very, they're both, it doesn't sound like Smoke on the Water at all. It's just the spirit of it sounds like, that's pretty damn close, 3 ups and a down as far as the riff goes,
Yeah, they say guitar players, they always want to learn either Smoke on the Water or Stairway to Heaven. I was cracking up the other day because I heard Richie Blackmore doing an interview where he's talking about how everybody loves Smoke on the Water. It's everybody's favorite song. He's like, it's not my favorite song. It's a good song. It's not my favorite song, though.
Hey, he struck gold.
Yeah.
I mean, he struck platinum. He struck multi-platinum. He struck whatever. He absolutely nailed it because there's Richie has a style in his riffs, and there's other songs throughout his career where you can hear similarities in the style of riff writing from Blackmore. But man, of all of his riffs and all of his amazing body of work, it's really, he just nailed it. Absolutely, just and the riff is one thing, like, right? But then it goes to the the band kicks in and plays the riff, but then it goes to the verse, and the verse is just badass. Ian Gillan's just it's a great story. The lyrics are cool as shit. But then you're like, okay, I'm sold. This is all good. But then they give you the chorus, which is just an amazing chorus. Just going to a different key, going to a different chord, putting this nice little melody, Smoke on the Water. It's just a badass song. There's no way around that. It really is. It really is still to this day.
Yeah.
One of the most mighty riffs ever created. It really is. Still to this day. Think about that. That was what? What year did freaking?
Gotta be close to 50 years ago. 50 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's been a shit ton of amazing guitar riffs written since then, but that one still rises to the top.
Yeah, that's why when people tell me, keyboards suck, I say, well, you put on any of those classic Deep Purple albums, you listen to what John Lord did, and then you say that,
Yeah, but when the keyboards suck, it's like, I remember being a kid, like, I'm in the middle, man, we're not in a keyboard, But I'm like, wait a second, but I love Zeppelin, and there's so many amazing keyboards, and I think it's just, people meant, like, kind of the goofier side of keyboards, like, whatever pop was going on in the 80s or something. But hey, man, Ozzy, you're sitting there saying that, but then you're putting on freaking Mr. Crowley. There's keyboards throughout all the Ozzy stuff, and then Rush, got into keyboards and stuff. But Queen, okay, so you're not going to think Queen because Freddie plays,
I'm with you. Yeah.
No, man. Or Purple, of course. John Lord that was one of the heaviest keyboard sounds ever. Going through a Marshall and stuff. He was, and then you got Eddie Van Halen, who was always wanting to, more and more dig into the keyboard side of things. Come on, So I got no problem, man. Good music. If you like the music, you like the music. Who cares?
Yeah. So and again, this is a great Christmas CD, and I was curious when you were growing up or when you were putting this together. What were some of your favorite Christmas music to listen to, or like, Just
the classics. I mean, I think this CD was just me scrolling through all the songs, going, I think these songs are the ones that there were. I was gonna do like a volume 2. I just haven't really gotten around to it, but there's definitely another 10 songs that I love, and there's a couple that I was like, I want to put this one on, but I was like, oh man, time-wise, it might just be too involved, like what I want to do with it. Maybe I'll just do this one instead. But yeah, man, these are like the Grinch is the Grinch special. That the original cartoon or whatever was just such a. It was just so. As a kid growing up, it was so much fun to watch every year, and you didn't get to eventually we had VCRs and stuff, but really, you only got the CDs on TV. Like, okay, Thursday at 8:00, the Grinch is on. That's it. If you want to watch it, you gotta get ready and plan around watching that. All the Christmas songs are some of the best written songs ever. They're really digging the point of the whole reason they're writing these songs is just they're nailing it. The melodies are great. The chord changes. When I was learning these songs, it's like you have to learn a little bit of outside my toolbox of guitar knowledge and chords. You got to get more into a little bit of a jazzier side or whatever, and learn from it. But man, the songwriters are writing this, man. They knew what they were doing. It takes a lot of talent to write timeless songs that 100 years later or whatever, you're still going to be hearing these things guaranteed.
Yeah.
Every Christmas season or whatever. Yeah, but I think I'm like most people. You get to that time of the year. And the biggest songs are still the biggest songs. A lot of huge artists have put out great, Christmas CDs, and there's probably some great stuff on it, but, I don't even know. Off the top of my head, I'm sure Mariah Carey has a Christmas CD, and she's an amazing singer, and she probably has great versions, but if she's going to be covering, songs that we all know, if it's not, if it's not the original, I think it still feels like, I got to hear the original. It's Christmas time. That's the song I grew up on.
Yeah.
I need that. You know what I mean? I need that just because it's been a part of my life every Christmas, even though, whatever, a Mariah Carey fan might absolutely love her CD, or I might put it on and go, that's killer. It sounds great. She's amazing, but I need that, Brenda Lee version. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what's funny you bring up Mariah Carey, because I think just last year, every year they release her Christmas album, and last year, the album comes out every year, I think since the 90s, and all of a sudden the song she released a video for was a #1 hit all over again. I mean, it's just amazing sometimes how stuff like that happens.
Yeah, well, same with what was it, Bohemian Rhapsody, the Queen movie came out.
Wayne's World, yeah.
Start chopping the charts again, yeah.
And when I saw your album advertised, I thought, without even really, I just heard 2 tracks off of it, and I thought, man, I'm digging the 2 tracks I've heard so far. On YouTube, people can go check out the 2 tracks, which is Santa Claus Coming to Town, and then you were mentioning your cover of You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, which is kind of not necessarily a song you'd expect somebody to cover. It's not, when you think of Christmas music, it's not the most obvious, and that's what I loved about the fact that you chose that to cover.
Yeah, but that's because that was probably the standout Christmas special. And there's some great ones. I mean, Frosty's great, Rudolph's great. There was the other one with the Heat Miser. Which one was that? What was it? The Year Without Santa Claus. I think that had the Heat Miser in it, which that's a great song.
Yeah.
In itself. But yeah, there's so many great specials. But man, the Grinch there was no other special like that. There's drama. There's this mean guy at the top of a mountain. He's going to ruin everybody's Christmas. What's going on here? And at the end of it, he can't stay how he was. He's got to accept, I've got love in my heart. You know what I mean? It's a great, it's got a great point to it, and great meaning behind it, and it got humor in it, and cool tunes.
And I don't know if this was by design or not, but I think it's cool the fact that you put out the 2 albums, the 2 songs for people to kind of go and check out and kind of preview and get an idea what the album's about, rather than kind of post the whole album out there, because then people aren't going to want to go out and buy it, and it's really a great album, so I think that's a cool way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I was, I'm fine with it. It was just fun to do, and like I said earlier, it was really, I just wanted to be able to, if you're in, what do you call it, random play or whatever you call that, if a song of it pops on, or if this whole damn CD comes on after some of the classic ones, I just wanted it to fit in. I've never really been a fan of all the hard rock metal versions of Christmas. It's they're 2 different vibes to me. It's just not, it's not the same. It's some things work, peanut butter and chocolate works together, but, I don't think, the burritos and milk go together, you know what I mean? So it's like that kind of thing for me, but I still, I just want it to be kind of a, fit into the Christmas vibe, but still be a little bit rocking and but not show off, not like, oh, look at me, I can play fast scales on my guitar, blah, blah, blah. It had nothing to do with that. It was just more like, okay, this is a cool vibe that fits, and I hope I can get the point across.
Now, I dare say that, most people know you as a drummer, like I said, but you're pretty good on the guitar, and so I was just curious, like, most of the gigs you get, is it just because you're primarily known as a drummer, or, like, do you like every so often getting a chance to play the guitar?
No, man, and it's kind of an interesting question, because I'm really like a drummer who wishes he was a guitar player.
Yeah.
I started off on drums, but soon after I just fell in love with guitar, I've never gotten a gig, and maybe I actually haven't even worked hard enough, because guitar was always just something I felt like as a drummer I should be able to like come into any rock situation and handle it. Like there should be no excuses on drums. That's what I do on this planet. Like that came naturally as a kid. I put stupid hours in as a kid, obsessed, because it was it. It was like, I'm a drummer. That's what I'm going to do. And the guitar came soon after, but it was always like, and there was a time in high school I was practicing guitar more than drums, but it was always just learning from my friends. When I went to Berkeley Music College out of high school, I was a drummer there, but you're in the dorms with tons of guitar players. I was constantly learning, but it was just like, it was still like kind of self-taught. You learn licks or this and that from other guitar players, but I never studied it like privately, and so it was more of maybe it was a little bit more personal, because I thought drums, I should be able to go into certain, like, most situations as a drummer, and I should be able to handle it. There's no reason. I don't have excuses not to. But with guitar, it's more like, well, yeah, I've always done that on the side, no matter how much I love it. And then I think once you start getting out there as a drummer, people know he's a drummer. Okay, you've been in this band, you've been in that band. You're a drummer who, I heard him play guitar. He's obviously put some time into it. That's cool, but you're still looked at as a drummer. So most people are gonna, default to you, getting a call as a drummer. And there's already a ton of guitar players out there that are, have spent their lives dedicated solely to guitar. But hey, with that said, there are other musicians out there that are multi-instrumentalists, whether it's playing keys and guitar, or drums and keys, or drums and guitar. I know there's other musicians out there that have gotten gigs doing one or the other. So I'm like, shit, man, and it's not too late to go for it. So who knows? Maybe down the road I would get that chance to be in a situation. And I always wanted guitar to be like, I always wanted it to be in my own band, like, which I had many years ago. I was playing around town in Hollywood and singing and playing guitar in my little heavy power trio, and we got a deal in Japan, and we had a deal in the States, and that deal fell through. So there is a record somewhere out there, I think on Amazon, from the Japan release from 1999, and the band was called Ball, and it was just all big heavy riffs, and it was my first attempt at trying to finish music and sing and front it and all that stuff, but the cool result was it actually did get signed in Japan, and it was signed in the States, but the label folded before it came out, and it just didn't work out. But soon after that, I started playing with Billy Idol, and then we got busy and all that stuff. But anyhow, yeah. But with that said, maybe somewhere down the road, I'll I don't know, a few years ago, there's a band who shall not be named because it doesn't matter. But I'm friends with them, and they were auditioning guitar players. And their drummer wasn't available. And hey, Brian, can you come down and help us out auditioning guitar players? Whatever, in a few days. Learn some of our songs. I was like, yeah, sure. And I went down, but my buddy in the band was like, well, you should audition on guitar too.
Wow.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, it was like, I had a few days to prepare, and I learned their songs on drums, and I learned some of them on guitar. So all day long, I auditioned guitar players, right? And like they all came in, I don't know, playing 4 songs, 6 songs, however many they learned. And at the end of the day, after auditioning like 7, 8 guitar players, we had a drummer come in to play drums on my kit while I played guitar.
Wow.
And and the end result was I didn't get the gig, but actually they called me back and said, "Can you?" I think I only learned like I don't know 2 or 3 of their songs, or whatever. Can you learn more? Videotape yourself playing these because the tour wasn't coming up so soon. There was time for them to figure this out. And but then in this business, shit gets political, and sometimes you have somebody working in the band who's pushing for somebody else, and he might have more power than the other guy. But yeah, it was all good. The end of it was still a good experience because it was nothing but positive feedback. It was, as far as my guitar playing, I didn't get the gig for the tour.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, sorry you didn't get it, this other guy did. It was like none of the guys who auditioned got it that day. It was actually a friend of somebody in management in the band that kind of said, we should get him in, he's ready to go, he's going to be there anyways. It was one of those kind of things. But, with that said, I did put time in, and I would, it would be cool if I was in a situation, I think the mightiest of all situations of somebody like that is probably Dave Grohl, coming out of a massively huge band on drums, jumping right into starting his own band and fronting it and just taking it to fucking stadium level is insane. For not even just playing guitar, he's fronting it. It's like really, really impressive, and congrats to him because I as soon as I saw that first footage of Foo Fighters back in the day when he first started, I was like, that actually gave me. I was like, okay, he's not singing like Freddie Mercury or Rob Halford or something like that, but he's got his own vibe and he's owning it and it's making it work, and he's obviously, this is what's inside of him is coming out. That was the main thing. He's coming out and he's put enough time into his talents where he can really do this, and he's looking comfortable and on top of it, writing great songs, and to the point where it wasn't a side project anymore. It was like, okay, he actually used to be a drummer in this huge band Nirvana, but a lot of you people out there that are younger were exposed to him first in his band that happened happened after that, going on for way longer. And that definitely gave me that definitely was a nice little kick in the butt because I didn't really care about singing that much. I think singing is amazing. I think it's one of the most amazing, powerful things on the planet. But you either got it or you don't. I'm not a great singer. I have to sit there and work at it, and it's really just no fun. But because I know it's not like drums or even guitar. It's just more of it's not natural. Whereas one of my daughters just has this gift, and she's not using it. She has the gift of just relative pitch and rhythm and vibrato and a nice, and oh my God, I'm just like, you're a freaking singer. It's there. It's so there if you want it. I know because it's not there for me without a lot of work. But you don't even. I used to have your guitar is tuned to open chords, and she just at 5 years old just starts strumming quarter notes and singing the fifth, the third, the octave, and making up rhythms and melodies and improvising. And I'm like, it's there. And then years later, she comes in starting to do vibrato and mimicking Adele.
Oh wow.
I was like, I was like, seriously. But she got more into dancing and stuff. But now I don't hear her sing much. But when she does, it's it's just there. You just hear this wow. Seriously.
Wow.
I just really, really impressive. And I really think at any point in time, if she wanted to just change up the path and flip a 180 and go, I'm going to sing, because she loves music, and I hear it's when you got it built in like that, to me it's a no-brainer. But as my daughter, I'm not going to, hey, do what you want. I'm not going to force anything. You can figure out what you want to do, because that's the most important thing, is whatever you can do and get paid for and make that your life, you're going to just be waking up happier every day. And if singing's not it, okay, well, then it is what it is. But I look at it as a musician, who's been doing this since I was 7, 8 years old. It's like if you've got that in you, it's evident. It comes out that naturally. There's nowhere else to go except down that road.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about what you do, Brian. You're kind of a journeyman, but I mean, you've been involved in all these great bands and everything, and you get involved in all these cool projects, and you kind of follow your heart. Like you said, you do what you love to do, and you kind of.
It's weird. It's because journeyman or hired gun or whatever, it is what it is. because after 3 decades of doing this, it's like it could be so much worse, you know, because I really, you know, with each little, you know, step upward or each gig or all those experiences, just, you know, I'm trying to say a couple things here. All the experiences add up to making you, you know, smarter in business wise and just a little bit more confident. There's no way it can't. You know, every time you do something, you know, you have it under your belt, and it's no longer something that you're going to have to question as much. But I didn't get into this like, oh, I hope someday I can audition for big bands and get the gig. Like, I never cared about that. I cared about, I want to be in Zeppelin, my own Zeppelin, not Zeppelin, but you know, of course I'd love to be, but I'm saying my own Zeppelin, my own Rush, my own Van Halen, my own Maiden, my own AC/DC, where I'm one of the co-creators in the band that now, when we put music out, people are showing up in arenas and coming to hear what we did. We sat in a room and came up with this stuff and recorded it, and now we're getting on a stage and we're going to kick ass, and people are here for that. That to me is just the shit. And it's, you know, people always say, well, the grass is greener. I'm like, yeah, but man, you know, it's cool to jump into this. It's nice and rewarding if you're in a band, you're looking over on Foreigner stage and there's Mick Jones, the band, and you're the kid who learned how to do certain drum beats from Foreigner records. That's cool. It always keeps you in that child, you always a sense of that childlike experience, you know, that I can't get away from that because the memories are so heavy of learning certain things on a drum kit, you know, when I'm 10 and here I am in my 30s or whatever, and I'm, you know, playing with the guy that created this whole thing, you know, or whatever, any of the bands I've done. It's totally cool, but I still think I look at those guys and I'm like, there was a time, there was no Foreigner, there was no Whitesnake, but they made moves and started bands and actually wrote music and put people around, you know, found the rest of the bandmates to, you know, to make this amazing work that went on for decades, you know, and still to this day. And yeah, man, so that's where I always thought it was that was always the coolest thing. And hey, maybe somewhere down the road that'll happen, but as I get older, I'm not super concerned with it. I'm more just like, you know what? I'm glad I have a resume, and I'm glad that I've kind of proven myself in certain ways, and that just keep the ball rolling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, you're, you know, people still, you know, you're out there showing that you can still do what you do and do it well, and keep it rolling, man, and just enjoy what you're doing.
I mean, when I hear the name Brian Tichy, I think you've been a part of so many great bands, and you kind of got this great songbook that you're part of in the sense of, okay, you've been like you played with Whitesnake, the Dead Daisies, you know, Ozzy, you know, Foreigner, Billy Idol. I mean, those are just those bands right there, especially, you know, Whitesnake and Billy Idol, Foreigner. I mean, how many people go around saying, you know, those are the bands that are the soundtrack of my life? Not only have you got to play in all those bands, but think of all those songs from those bands that have charted and meant something to people. You know, you've got to go perform those songs and create new music with these bands, and it's you know, really kind of put your stamp. I mean, when I think of Whitesnake, as far as drummers, I'll tell you the top 3 drummers I think of: Cozy Powell, Brian Tichy, Tommy Aldridge. I mean, you know, there's been so many others, but you know, those are the ones that a lot of people think of when they think of Whitesnake, for example.
Well, yeah, that's cool because he's joining a band that has a great history, and I mean, I was the kid in high school that bought the slide-in cassette because I thought Coverdale's voice was killer, and Cozy snare drum sounded great on that record, and I went and bought it and put price to it. So yeah, it's totally cool to get into something like that, and Whitesnake always had always stood out a little bit more than some of the other bands around that time. For some reason, and maybe it was just David making a bigger deal about it, but you know, he'd always pump up that he's got a great band, and whoever's in the band, is, you know, a great musician. That he always made it a thing, and that I noticed that when I joined. It just like I think more people take note of the drummer in Whitesnake than they might of the drummer in Billy Idol or Foreigner or something. You know, I just think it's just you know, it's just you got a little more name value in who's in the band, and maybe it's just the way it's always been with Whitesnake. It's was in there, and then before then you have Vivian Campbell and Vandenberg and then Steve Vai.
Yeah.
It's like it was always David always made sure he was getting like name players, and he always pumped it up. And I grew up on the Tommy Aldridge era. So yeah, it was nice to follow in those footsteps for sure.
I always love to hear Coverdale talk about on his 21st birthday. That's when he got the gig with Deep Purple. I mean, what a way to celebrate,
Yeah, no, I mean, he was a kid still pretty much. I think he was like working in a clothes store or something like that. But he's sitting there with that voice.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. As long as he doesn't sit in his parents' basement or hide underneath a rock, somebody's going to hear that guy sing. And as long as he's not like the most annoying person to be around, he's gonna get out there and take over, which he did. He's just an amazing singer.
Yeah, and getting back to the Christmas CD, I gotta say, Brian, that I think this is a nice thing for people to have, like like if you're into kind of rock and roll Christmas, because again, like you said, you stay pretty true to the way these songs were originally done. You kind of rock it up just a little bit, kind of put your stamp on it, but that's what makes it so great. You're talking about maybe doing another one of these. I think that would be cool, like a couple of years down the line, or maybe even next year, because I know like Rob Halford, he's done 2 of these Christmas albums, and I don't know if you've checked out any of his Christmas albums, they're really cool.
Yeah, it's one of those things where which I'm a little surprised actually did this, because you have to be thinking way earlier in the year.
Yeah.
About doing this, which I did with Billy Idol back when I was playing with Billy. We did a Christmas CD, and I gotta give this a plug because it was cool. Earlier this year, he re-released it. We did it in 2006. It was just he and I, with strangely enough, Derek Sherinian on the stuff that I couldn't do on keyboards. Like when Derek did some soloing and played on a bunch of songs, but it was just Billy and I doing this Christmas CD called Happy Holidays, and he put it out, but he really didn't promote it. We kind of came and went, but you could see these videos. I mean, he did a few videos that came out really cool, and I think it tripped people out. Look at this, is crazy. Billy Idol doing
Christmas.
a Christmas CD. And I'm like, yeah, but see, that's the amazing thing when you're Billy Idol. You've become an icon, and you can wake up and go, you know what? I'm in the mood to do a Christmas CD. You know what? I'm in the mood to do a metal record. You know what? I'm in the mood to do an acoustic, whatever, a rockabilly record. That's what a guy like Billy Idol can do. And also, he's just got this voice that as soon as you hear it, it's Billy. And when he sings these Christmas songs, man, he did because he loves Elvis so much. He just did such a nice job vocally, and he really meant it. Where I think most people would think, oh, Billy Idol is going to do like a punk rock Christmas record.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Not even. He did a true Christmas record. He loves Christmas. He loves that time of the year. And man, I sat there for months working on it with him, and he really wanted it to be, in the spirit of. There's nothing. I think the most rockin' we get is covering Chuck Berry's "Run Rudolph Run," and we stayed true to that version. Stayed true to the original. Tried to get it in that vibe. But anyways, Billy, earlier this year, I had to get out the hard drives and clean the stuff up and get it to the new mix engineer, and they remixed the whole thing and re-released it. Like, I don't know, a couple of months ago or so.
Yeah.
But with a new track, a track that he and I had never released. It was just like an after the fact song idea I had. I was like, it's kind of Christmassy sounding, and he was like, yeah, it is, whatever. And he made it. We had this other song sitting there, so they tacked that one onto the record, and he put it out like a month ago. But it's really cool.
So people,
Billy, if you've ever heard Billy singing like this, it's actually it's not surprising because he does it so well. But it's just image wise. If you think of Billy as a certain image, you can't picture it. But when you hear him singing it, you're like, oh, I get it.
So, can people still get that? That's still available as far as you know?
Yeah, no, it was re-released. He remixed it and re-released it this year. Came out like in October,
Oh, cool.
like, I don't know, a month ago or something. It's out now. It's on I think it's called Dark Horse Records. It's which is George Harrison's label, and yeah, it's out there, man. And I urge anybody who hasn't heard it to check it out. Because what we did sounded good. But this remix is just more lush. It's just. I like it better. It's just a little fuller and more lush.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they did a great job, and it's out now. So yeah, if you're into Christmas and you're into Billy Idol, and you should check it out.
Yeah, I'm definitely into Christmas, and around this time of year, I start checking stuff like this out, and that's why when I saw stuff for Merry Tichmas, I started checking it out right away, and I'm like, yeah, I got to get this. But I was tripping out when Twisted Sisters put out their Christmas CD, because the funny thing is, since they released that is outsold like Stay Hungry. That's become their all-time best-selling album, if you can even believe that.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I guess it works for some people, or a lot of people. Where just, I know I heard at least one Twisted song. Like it might have. Was it "O Come All Ye Faithful" or what? Which one did they?
That's the one I think they released as a single. Yeah, but yeah, it's a full.
Yeah, and it was more like like an up-tempo hard rocking song. And if that's how the whole CD is, and that works for fans of Twisted and rock and Christmas, great. I just for me personally, I was never really into like that just distorted guitar, aggression on Christmas songs. But obviously, a lot of people, hey, good for them.
And the funny
maybe Volume 2, I should do more of the metal Christmas or something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, even if you just did like more of what you did on the first volume, I think people are going to love it. I mean, like I said, I get into stuff like this every year, and I just came across a cool rockin' version Foghat does of Winter Wonderland. Now, that's another song on here, so talk a little bit about your decision to cover that.
Which song was it?
Winter Wonderland. I was saying I heard Foghat does a cool version of that, but...
no, I never heard that.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, there's so many great original songs.
Yeah.
From Christmas songs from huge artists. Like that's specific. Like Wings, like McCartney and Wings, the Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas time, and Billy Squier's Christmas song. What is it? Christmas is a time to say I love you or something. That's a fucking great song. And ELP. What is it? Father Christmas.
Oh, and
those are all killer original songs. Killer.
And you can't forget Slade.
Yeah, that's great too.
Yeah, and a couple others to mention before we wrap this up. I just came across Richie Blackmore. Speaking of Blackmore, which we have a few times throughout the interview, he's got this band called Blackmore's Night with his wife Candace, and they got like a cool Christmas album like that they just put out, and it sounds nothing like Deep Purple Rainbow, but you wouldn't expect it to. But for what it is really cool.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. I mean, Richie's Richie. Whatever he's gonna put out is gonna be great.
And the thing I was going to ask you, another guy that's great at, puts out like these Christmas shows and different Christmas CDs all the time is Gary Hoey. Have you ever thought, now that you have the CD, have you ever toyed with the idea of doing like a Christmas show or something?
Yeah, no, I'm friends with Gary, and we had actually talked about doing the possibility of doing some of his Christmas shows together this year. It didn't work out, but I think whoever he had to play drums was unsure at the time. I should be able to, but if I can't, you might want to just have somebody else. But I worked with Gary on something earlier this year, and we ended up talking about stuff like that. But yeah, he's great. He's great. I think with a name like Hoey, it's kind of like Tichy.
Yeah.
It's like if you can have a Merry Tichmas, and I didn't even think about Gary, but I always heard Hoey. I was like, of course you got to do Christmas stuff, dude. You got your name works out perfectly.
In fact, he's been doing it so long that it's expected every year that he does these shows. It's become what he's known for, even just
totally.
But what I was asking is, now that you got your own Christmas CD, Brian, have you ever maybe like down the line thought about maybe I'll do a Christmas show, kind of perform some of these tunes off Merry Tichmas Live, get a band together or something?
Yeah, I did. Like, okay, I'd have to relearn it because I wouldn't want to be the drummer and I want to play the guitar on it.
Okay.
Focus more on it. But so I just have to work on it. Just get, relearn the stuff and practice. But since I did the CD, I think the next 2 years, that we were doing NAMM show event stuff like Bonzo Bash, Randy Rhoads Remembered, and that just takes months of preparation. So I don't think there was any way I was going to find the time to juggle both things within like a month of each other.
Yeah.
But with that said, you never know. We're sitting here at the end of the year, and if I keep it in the back of my head, maybe next year I'll just say, let's get some guys together and put a Christmas show together and call it Merry Tichmas. Why not?
Yeah.
It'd be fun. It'd be fun just to do. Yeah, like it's like watching Gary do his thing. For many years. Yeah, why not?
I mean, even if you did like a one-off show somewhere. But final question, because I know you got to go, Brian. But speaking of Randy Rhoads Remembered and the Bonzo Bash, I know we've had COVID and stuff to deal with. Where are you with those two events? You think you might have something for the next year?
I don't know, because it was like a NAMM-based thing.
Yeah.
For the most part, we had done it other times in other places, but that was kind of where it mostly happened. And then I found out that NAMM, that's usually in January, and Anaheim is now not until June.
Oh.
Which changes the whole vibe of like who's available in June and what I'm doing, because I know I'm not available in June. But with that pushes it another year down the road, and it's been what? I haven't done those shows since 19. That's 2021.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
This would be the third year. It's kind of like, it's such a tall order. Like, it's a lot of fun to put the shows on. The end result is always great, and I did it out of passion and literally out of just these John Bonham and Randy Rhoads just having such huge impressions on me growing up, and still do that to this day, as there are so many other musicians that feel the same way, hence having a show that you can, that's popular with the musicians involved, as well as, anybody that wants to check something out like that. But at the same time, the further you get away from it, the more other things happen in your life that you start thinking about.
Yeah.
And so as I see here right now, I just don't know even if I could, I'd be like, okay, how much time do I have I know what's needed to dedicate to making it, the show that I want it to be.
Yeah.
And then I just go, well, how much time do I want to dedicate to that, and stop anything else I'm doing, which I did for years. I did it for, it became like a thing. Like, I was always thinking ahead about it, and I wanted to do it. But right now, it's kind of like it was fun while it happened, and if it never happens again, whatever, it happened, and there's other people, I'm sure, that'll do other things, honoring Bonham and Randy Rhoads as throughout history, I'm sure, because they're icons. But right now I don't know.
As much as people love those shows, I don't think they realize, like you said, it takes a whole year just to put on one of those shows, and a lot of hard work and planning. It takes up a lot of your time, and you got to really be dedicated, and you can't get involved with other things. So you're also like, it's your name at the top of it. So if it goes well, you can take credit for it, right? But if anything doesn't go right, or somebody's not happy, or something's just not flowing the way it should, the finger gets pointed to you, regardless of what the issue is, And I've experienced that, and it's like, okay, I expect that, But that's why I try my hardest to make things as smooth as it can be. But I think maybe the other question that I ask myself is, do I want that pressure? Do I want to do that to myself? Like, do I need to be like? Because it was always an easy answer. Like when it would come down to like, we got to secure a venue and get into it, I would be like, no, I'm not in the mood. It's like the middle of the year, and I don't want to do that. And then it would get a little closer, and the main reason I would end up saying, okay, let's do it again, was I knew the end result was always cool, but it was because it's the one little idea I came up with, where I'm the boss of it. I can think of what I want to do this way or that way, and I actually get to sort of have final say. And my final say is usually like, let's get it where it's smooth, let's get everything organized, but let's have an element of spontaneity, and of whatever happens. Like, we can't, like, I love that idea. Like, it's just like, I don't know, whatever you do in your life, you put your hours in, you get it to a point where you're pretty much dialed in, and you have that confidence to be able to go and do what you do, but you also have to be able to keep that ship sailing if something else happens that you don't expect. And that happens all the time in these kind of shows. Just things change. But I love, it's a form of improv and spontaneity. Let's improv. Let's go for it. Who cares, man? What
it didn't go the way we thought. Who cares, man? Let's do something else. Keep it going. That's how you have to react on stage as a musician too. You know, if something didn't work out, you better be on your feet, ready to figure out how to keep it smooth. You know, as best you can. So I like that side of it because I get to, I got to kind of, hold the reins in that department and call those shots and go. And sometimes it was stuff that was stupid that other people would be like, dude, why are you putting so much time into that? And I'm like, because it's going to be fun, because it's going to make me laugh, it's going to make me pumped up, and whatever. But so that was like, it was a nice vehicle to get that, sort of out of the system. But at the same time, it's all underneath the umbrella of John Bonham rules and Randy Rhoads rules. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, the last time I talked to you, Brian, you had just put out an album with this other band that you just started with these two other guys, and I think you're telling me everything kind of got stalled because of COVID had just hit. Now, are you still working with that?
You're probably talking about the band Silverthorne.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. I put an EP out. Well, it was last year, but it's getting closer to 2 years ago. It was like February of 2020, and as soon as it came out, COVID hit. And while we all thought it might be a couple months, it turned into the whole year into this year. It's still a factor. It's still affecting everything, which affects labels signing things, which affects how labels are going to treat new bands if they can't get out and tour, and all that stuff. So it's still there existing, but we were on a label, Golden Robot. We put the EP out on, and we just decided if we, for the next stuff we release, whatever that is, we're gonna switch up, what label we're gonna try and get some other interest going. So it created a big gap. We have a bunch of new songs, but it was just kind of like, okay, where are we at? Because is COVID still going to affect real new bands? And are we ready to go down that road and dive into it, or do we want to wait a little bit? And then our singer, he started working with another band in Europe, and they made a record, and they had maybe more of a budget and a fan base in the country that they're popular in. So he was working with them, and I've got some other stuff that'll starting at the beginning of the year that's going to be announced, like a new project I'll be working with.
Wow.
So it's kind of like we got to think about how many months do we have and how much time do we put into it. I wish it was a full-time thing, but right now it's still something that's more like up in the air, waiting to be seen what happens next, kind of thing.
Well, Brian, I want to thank you for taking time to talk to us about your Merry Tichmas solo album. I wish people can encourage people to go out and get it, and they can go on your website, briantichy.com, and order. That's what I did. And
it's that easy. That's pretty much the only place to get it. That's as far as it went. I did the pledge music thing, and I put it on the website and left it at that. And stupidly, that's another thing. If you want to get a deal with a Christmas record, you got to start. You can't start thinking about it in the fall.
Yeah.
Try to see if somebody's interested in it. You got to talk about. You got to start thinking about that in the beginning of the year. And I forgot in the past couple of years about that because I was working on other stuff. But maybe this year I'll remember and see if there's a way to get it on a label and have it properly promoted and out there more accessibly.
Well, Brian, I'm going to get off the phone because I just got mine in the mail today. I'm going to go listen to the rest of this and get my rocks off. But Merry Tichmas to you, and when you're ready to announce the new project, any of them, whenever it is, be sure to let me know. I'd love to help you promote it because I'm really into everything you do.
All right, well, thank you very much, and thanks for helping me pump the Merry Tichmas CD, and then happy holidays to everybody out there. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and hopefully we're all safe and sound throughout the holidays into the next year.
Okay, take care, Brian. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.